So I sat down thinking I was about to watch a farming anime that was educational, and I had the volume turned up and I was really ready, really prepared to learn about something that I have to do myself. And plot twist, I have to turn the volume from 20 down to 10 because we are talking about panties as loud as humanly possible. This wholesome, cuddly, freaking farming show I thought I was getting into watching is actually an edgy comedy parody show, and I enjoyed it in all the best ways. I have not laughed this much since prison school, and I was so freaking caught off guard by it that it hooked my attention and it never let go. Does that mean it's good? No, it means it's so bad that it ends up I don't know, my brain's freaking dying. It means it's so bad that it ends up being good. We follow a homie whose name I can't even remember, but he is absolutely obsessed with an idol. He sleeps with her body pillow, her freaking albums is all over the place, her posters are all over the walls. Every moment of this guy's life is obsessing about this girl, right? Even the farming he does, the plants he raises, the vegetables he grows, he sends them to this girl, and that is how she learns of agricultural crap to begin with. So whenever she decides to retire, even though this homie's heartbroken for a while, she retires to the countryside, they're in the same class, you know where this is going. It's basically a Hallmark movie at first, but it obviously can't be that simple, because the homie's got a childhood friend named Nourin that kinda wants to, I don't know, pound privates together. So now we've got ourselves a love triangle that a lot of edgy situations can be made out of, and it is kind of annoying at times, I ain't gonna lie. It's mostly funny, but there's also a few moments that are just completely overused and I didn't really like. It's really hit and miss, but Minori doesn't really have her own characterization beyond the fact that the only seed she wants grown is his seed in her, you know what I'm saying? But she's not the only girl that wants a guy's seed implanted into her, okay? The teacher, Miss Becky, she'll take anybody to just plow her down. She'll take anybody. She wants to be a hoe, but she's like the garden variety that nobody actually uses, you know? People are like, hey, bring me the hoe, and then they go after like the random girl next door, forgets the hoe even exists. That's who Miss Becky is. She's blonde, busty, and lusty, and there's no other way to describe her. If it's a man and it breathes, we've also got a girl whose name I also don't remember because we only refer to her as Fun Bags, so I only know her as that, okay? You can call her whatever you want. If it makes it easier, you can remember her as Milk Muffins, Mommy Milkers, Gigantic Jugs. I mean, you just think whatever you want to remember what this girl looks like because I cannot tell you her name. And last but not least, in terms of our main characters, we've got the guy that she's head over heels for. I think his name's Kai. He has the most moments on screen that are just completely random. Like whenever his comedy happens, it's usually because of something he is wearing and then he'll just slide on into screen. Literally, like a moment happened where I was taking a video recording for one of my friends to be like, look, I'm watching a farming anime. Isn't that funny given how much I hate actually going outside and doing farming? And then while I was taking the video, he just slid into frame and I started laughing because I wasn't expecting that kind of crap. And it was hilarious. I enjoyed the comedy in this so much.
Huh? You think so? Around here, closer clues than me.
But when it comes to the actual story, it is lacking a lot. It's mostly just the characters getting into situations where we can see two girls roll around in the mud, right? Where we can see them dress up as idols or in bikinis or something that's got sex appeal to it in order to sell vegetables or something, just looking for an excuse for more edgy and more comedy. But there's also a lot of moments where they have like actual educational farming tips in there that I wasn't expecting. It is a weird balance, and at first they do not strike it for me. The first, I don't know, 3 or 4 episodes are almost completely edgy. Sure, there's farming as like a backdrop, but whenever it comes down to actually doing things that are related to farming for farming's sake, it's not quite there. But as the series goes on, they do better at balancing that out, and I really enjoyed it. There was some actual emotional moments where I genuinely cared, and I felt like these characters that can be be described as tropey and cliche actually had moments where they felt real, where all of a sudden all of their overly exaggerated traits got put to the back burner and they were actually willing to do what needed to be done in order to save crops or save a town or talk to each other about their feelings, or whenever crops actually ended up getting some kind of like a rot on it that made it so not only was that soil no longer usable, but all those crops had to be disposed of. That was an emotional moment that I was surprised to know would resonate with me. But when it comes down to it, even though there are those moments, and there was moments that actually made me genuinely feel sad, the majority of the time is a wild ride. It is completely fun, balls to the wall comedy, and it can come out of nowhere and it can be completely random and yet feel like it isn't. I do not know how to explain this. This is a hidden gem that I have not heard anybody else talk about, but you really need to check it out if you're a fan of things like Prison School, because it is really good in that regard. Prison School is a good anime with or without the comedy. This isn't. Prison School had its own underlying plot that you were actually like engaged with, where you don't really have that for the full series here. And yet when it comes to just the comedy alone, this made me laugh just like the other, except I would call one genuinely good and I would call the other so bad it ends up coming back around and being good. This is the kind of dumpster fire stuff I would dive into the dumpster for time and time again. If they made another season of this, I would be right there to watch it. I really enjoyed it. And that's not even actually talking about the characters that I didn't bring up as our main characters. Like, we've got two girls that are obsessed with money and pornography, like boy love kind of stuff. They're completely obsessed with it, to the point that they will like manufacture situations so they can have these boy love moments, which if that kind of comedy is for you, you're probably gonna find it pretty funny. I thought a couple of the moments were funny, but they weren't clever enough for me. They usually just do the same thing a couple times and it just whatever, you know. But whenever it came to the one girl who was also obsessed with making money and making product in order to make money, she was an entrepreneur, even if it was shady at times, I thought that that was pretty funny. There was also a guy in there that's like a woodcutter type of guy. He was alright. He had some funny moments whenever he talks to the main character, but I don't really even know how to describe him as a character. There was also the guy that was like the pretty boy type of characters. I don't remember his name because just like the other characters, it doesn't really matter. But they set him up pretty good. They were talking about how he goes out of his way to make the women fawn over him and how this one girl couldn't stop talking about him for weeks and weeks. I mean, they really built this guy up as some kind of playboy. And then it turns out the entire time he was only getting close to these girls and making them become infatuated with him so he could have our main character all to himself. And I was not expecting that. I did not expect that. That got me pretty good. Turns out homie is gay, and it was a huge surprise. That was probably the most clever gay reveal I have ever seen in anime, just because it seemed completely out of nowhere. But it all made sense once it was revealed, and that's how a lot of the comedy in here works. This is not a normal type of anime that I can sit here and actually like review. Not in the capacity where there's not going to be a lot of spoilers, but it was pretty good, considering that it wasn't anything I was actually sitting down and wanting to watch, you know? So just wanted to rant about No-Rin for a little bit, or No-Rin, or however you say it, and say that if you're looking for something that you've probably never heard of, and you want something that's funny, kinda like Prison School was, then I actually do recommend you going out of your way and giving it a watch. It was a lot of fun, even if I don't know how to sit here and actually explain it in a way that is coherent. It really jacked with my brain, but if you do want a really good thought out series type breakdown of it, where I go through and talk about certain scenes and how they are interpreted and how they could be interpreted and how they build off of past scenes and stuff, I mean, you can let me know. I can make more of an analytical video about this if you really want me to, but given the fact that it's not much of an anime to analyze at the surface for most people, it didn't feel appropriate to sit here and try to make it out to be deeper than it is on the surface, you know what I mean? Anyway, if you made it this far, thank you so much. Subscribe, and for more news, reviews, and whatever we choose, stay tuned to Nerdsfeed. Have a great day. Thank you.